Hello YouTube friends, welcome to The Last Homely Garden. I'm talking to you here towards the end of August, and I've had this job that I've wanted to do for a while now. If ever you see shots through my garden, you'll see these green tubes all over the place that are tree guards that are guarding from deer and rabbits, the trees that I planted about getting on for 2 years ago, 18 months, 2 years ago. And so this morning I want to walk around the garden and have a look down some of these tree guards and see how the trees are doing. Some of them may not have made it at all, and then I'll remove those guards, but I'm really interested to see which ones have made it. It's an amazing time of year, just as the year's turning, and this beautiful rowan here is in full berry, and we're going to go around and have a look at some of the established trees that are already here at the Last Homely Garden, and that'll be some of my apple trees, and the elder flower is finished now, and the elder berries are just starting to ripen and get lovely and red. I've got some crab apples over here that are just starting to come, and so today I want to talk to you all about my trees and have a look round the whole garden. So you coming with me? Let's start over here. So this is one of those tree guards that's guarding a tree that we planted, and this one's great. This one's popping out of the top, no problem. Now, when we planted these, and I have the list in my pocket, I'll tell you all the different trees that we bought in a moment, but we labelled all of them on little bamboo canes with the name of the tree so that we would know what they were. And then of course the rain came and washed all those labels away, so there are no labels. So we're just going to have to identify them by their leaves and by the shape of the leaves and their habit. So this one's doing brilliantly well, and so we'll just back up a little tiny bit because I planted this honeysuckle here. I've taken the guard off this one already, and this honeysuckle is climbing through, it's right up here, look, it's climbing through this apple tree, and it's going to be just amazing when it comes into flower next year. So I'm very pleased with that one. Look at it, it's all the way back here, and it's doing quite well. So let me take you around here because there's a very special tree I want to show you. So this oak tree, which is so beautiful, my son John is in his 30s now, and when he was 6-7 years old, he went to visit my dad, his granddad, and he gave him some acorns, and John poked an acorn into the ground there when he was 7, and now this is the most magnificent oak tree. I love this tree. So just a little bit further away from the oak tree, there's this hedge here. Now I planted this hedge maybe 10 years ago, and the hedge plants were like about 2 feet tall when they were first planted, and it was a bundle from a tree nursery not far from me of hedging plants. And so in there we've got Guelder Rose, Dog Rose, we've got Hazel, all sorts of amazing things that really should be hedges, but they've just been left to grow, and they're all a little bit too tall now. So I really need to think about how to manage them and get the height of those down a bit. There's a really cool thing that you can do with hedges called laying a hedge, which is what I had hoped to do with this. It's never happened. Maybe it's too late to do that now. But I think I might actually ask Ant from Ant's Country Life if he'll come and have a look at this hedge and see if we can somehow try to manage it to get it a bit lower. They're all turning into trees, which is what these hedging plants want to do. They want to be trees. And I would actually rather they were a little bit lower. I love them, but it does make the garden feel like a very enclosed green hug. and it would be nice to have a few little different heights going on in there. And so there's lovely rowan in here, and then quite inexplicably there's a wisteria. I've no idea why that happened, but in amongst this here I planted a wisteria. That's not the right place to plant wisteria. So this hedge needs a little bit of looking at and looking after, which it hasn't had for the last few years, because it's beautiful, isn't it, though? These are the berries of the Guelder Rose. And then we've also got the rowan berries through here, and hawthorn as well. There's a lot of hawthorn in this hedge. So through here then, we've got one of the long established apple trees. Now there are 4 apple trees in this garden. This one is a James Grieve, and these apples are nearly ripe. The way that you can tell if an apple is ripe and ready to eat, it'd be quite sour if you ate it when it wasn't ripe, but if you just twist it and it comes off easily in your hand, then it's ready to eat. And it looks to me like these aren't. No, they don't want to come just yet. So that's a James Grieve, and over here this is a russet. Now these russet apples are really small, and there's something that you can do in like June, which is reduce the number of apples on each place where the apples are. And I didn't do that, so I'm going to have a lot of very small hard apples. Russets aren't one of my favourite apples, but my absolute favourite apples are discoveries, which is what this one is. And so I have 2 discovery trees here. And since Ant did all that work clearing out this front garden here, it's meant that I can get to these trees more easily. So we'll try the test. No, if you twist and it comes really easily, but that one's not ripe either. But we'll have a lot of wonderful discoveries, and they're gorgeous. They go quite red, and the flesh is a little bit red as well, and they're sweet and gorgeous. So that is an apple to keep our eye on. This one, maybe we give those to the pigs. Okay, but if we carry on through here, now, just look at this hedge here. Well, it's a row of trees now, isn't it? But here, all the way down here, about, I don't know, 10 years ago maybe, I had a lovely family living next door with 4 boys who played football in their garden. And that's fine, I didn't mind that at all. But the football would often come over into what was then a vegetable garden here. And so I thought, well, I'll just plant a little willow hedge there, and to keep the footballs out of the garden. Now, they moved house before this grew up, but every single one of these willow twigs that I put in the ground wants to be a tree. And this really needs a serious amount of attention to get it back into being a reasonable height. Willow grows like a weed. I have willow all over the place. In fact, as we continue round the garden, I'll take you up through the little willow arch that I made, also about that same time. So willow is a very, very invasive thing. That's a good thing in one way. You can use it for all sorts of things, basket making, which, you know, I don't really do, but you could grow it for that. You can get it to a decent size and use it for fuel. All sorts of things you can do with willow, but in the wrong place, it's a little bit of a liability. So I'm, again, Ant, are you watching this video? I'm going to get you to help me to get this hedge back into a manageable size again. But as we're coming down here, we can see that I've put trees either side of this pathway. So we've got some more of these tree guards, and here's a gorgeous little tree that's growing here. But then if we look down this one, I think that one's dead. This one's okay. these are not so good. But that's all right. I think we planted upwards of 200 trees, and so some of them failing is absolutely fine. This one's doing fine. So if you look here, this elder, the elder berries are just starting to come black very soon. In a week or two's time, we'll be able to make elderberry syrup with those, but they're just coming nicely now. And they'll be great food for the birds too. And I see there's some birds have eaten these unripe already. So an elder, again, grows like a weed and really likes damp soil conditions, which is what we've got here. So this area here, this pond area, was new last year, and it's exciting to have this new development here. But some of the old trees, there's rowans here, a lot of rowans. Just look how many rowan trees there are around the back of the pond. And behind the cabin, it's beautiful. But I like them all, but I particularly like this little one. So we've got a lovely little rowan tree there, almost a bush, with an oak tree behind it, and I just love how they look. I really do. Now there's a lot of trees behind those two trees, so let's go and have a look at them. So down in this part of the garden, my son John helped me to plan where we would put all the trees, and we decided to put a lot of alder trees down here. They like the wet very much, and they're fast growing, and you can see that this one is poking out of its tree guard beautifully. This one's already lost its tree guard. This is a hornbeam, and that one's doing very, very well. Now they're planted quite close together, but we'll thin them out as they get bigger, so that we've got a lovely stand of trees here to protect the cabin from wind in future generations. Maybe not, I won't benefit, but maybe Agnes will. Another gorgeous tree. This is another alder. It's doing really, really well. Another species we bought and planted was Downy Birch, and this one's doing very well indeed there. There's another wee oak popping out of that one in amongst the thistles. That's good. Another alder, another birch I can see there. And then we've got a whole load of tubes here. Let's see if we can see what's going on over here. This ground is very, very damp indeed. You can tell by all these reeds that are here. Ah, there is a little downy birch coming out of that one. And there's an alder struggling to get out of this one too. So there's more successes than failures so far. Tiny little birch in there. Remember, they're only 18 months old, so the fact that some of them have burst out the top of their tubes is like pretty amazing, really. Another little one. Step down here onto the Woodland Walk. That one's okay. This one not. That's dead. So we can take that tree guard up, and that stake, there's definitely nothing growing there. Oh, there's a little oak in that one. And then here, I planted another honeysuckle with the idea that it would grow up onto the balcony of the treehouse and grow along the balcony. And it is going to do that. It's doing really well, that one. And I think there's another honeysuckle here. Yeah, this one is growing up through this willow hedge here. So this is the other bit of willow I was telling you about. And I planted willow either side of this walkway here. And it makes a willow arch, which is a lovely idea. But when it rains, it's a little bit like a car wash through there. So it's good to keep the top quite clear. So we clip that one back a little bit. Now, there are a lot more tree guards throughout the whole of this front area here. But you can see, can't you, that it's not actually terribly easy to get through there at this time of year. So that might be something that I'll do in the winter, is come back down here and see how the outlying trees are doing. Because that's just like really hard going getting through there. So let's have a look up through here. This part of the garden, which I used to keep my bees down here, but it's pretty overgrown now, and I've moved my bees up into the top garden. And so I just love the idea of lots of wildlife, lots of creatures living in this whole area here. It's quite a big area that I'm custodian of, and I have no idea what lives here. But all the way around the perimeter of this area, there are loads more tree guards and loads more trees. We'll check on those later in the year. And this gorgeous silver birch, which I just absolutely love. And then when I built the pavilion with some help, I planted a cordon of apple trees. And so there are eaters and cookers in this cordon. The idea is that they form a wall along one side of the pavilion. And they're doing a very good job of doing that. So they get trained into these wires every year. Yeah, they're doing great. So we've kind of come full circle now around the garden. More successes than failures, many more successes than failures. And when the undergrowth dies down in the front woods there, I'll be able to get right down to the bottom of the garden and see how those trees are doing. But I think for now, I can call that a bit of a success. And so before I started filming this for you, I got my list of trees that I planted and the dates on here. So we got the trees in, excuse me, in January 2023. And all the tree guards that you've been seeing and further out as well are Alder, silver birch, downy birch, dogwood, hazel, honeysuckle, aspen, which I'm particularly pleased to have, blackthorn, Sessile Oak, Guelder Rose, Rowan and Bird Cherry. Now the blackthorn, which we haven't seen any of today, John and I decided to plant a whole bank of it along the front of the wall, at the end of the front woods, right at the roadside there. So there's a big bank of blackthorn. And up at John's and Anna's cottage, they've got a lot of blackthorn. That's why the cottage is called Blackthorn Cottage. And it just forms a really wonderful wall of blackthorn. Thinking that they all went in just about 18 months ago, some of those are doing incredibly well. Some of my other trees are getting a little bit big for their boots, and some of them, like the oak and the silver birch here, are just magnificent. At this time of year though, I just love all the rowan berries, and giving me the idea that we're moving into autumn and we're moving into that darker part of the year. Those rowan berries are so beautiful, jewel-like berries, I love them. So that's been a quick look round the trees. And we'll definitely do an update on that in a year or so's time, so that we can maybe remove some of the tree guards and see how well they're doing. But I'm very pleased with the results there. So thank you so much for watching. I post to this garden channel just when I have something to talk about, like today, and so not to a regular schedule like I do on the Last Homely House channel. And so put your notifications on when you subscribe, and then you won't miss when I post a new video. And thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you back here soon with some more from the garden.